This story leads our bulletin this hour. Police Minister Bheki Cele has met with a very upset Lamontville community to uncover the circumstances around the shooting of a 33-year-old woman. Her body was found during a police raid for looted goods last week. It's still not clear if the bullet that killed her was from police or a resident. The Independent Police Investigative Directorate is trying to answer that question. Cele hopes more details will emerge. Now, my colleague, eNCA senior reporter Dasen Thathiah is on the ground in Lamontville tracking that story for us. Dasen, good afternoon. Well, the mood was not really welcoming to Bheki Cele earlier when he was in Lamontville meeting with the residents. What can you tell us about the latest?
Definitely not in keeping with the mood of welcoming home one of their own, because as you know, the police minister does come from this neighborhood. But this is the second engagement here. Last week, or during the course of this week, he had met with community leaders, and that was a closed meeting, a private meeting, to talk about this very issue. And during that meeting, it was resolved that he would then address the community here today to give them feedback on that investigation that has been ongoing since the shooting of Zamakile Shangaze about 2 weeks ago. And today, during this meeting, effectively, at the beginning, the community had stated their case. They had spoken about what it was that concerned them, and we'll unpack that in a second. But when the minister had then addressed them and told them that there were certain requirements for an IPID investigation to continue. Now, one of those things is statements, and that's a requirement from the community, and that's when things seem to turn and the mood seemed to change here as the community had gathered, because they said that the police should point out their own and the person who they claim shot Shangaze in this community. Now remember, that is still in dispute. That is something that is under investigation as to where exactly that bullet came from. But let's listen into what the police minister, Bheki Cele, had to say about the investigation.
I have met the leadership, but they insisted that I must come and speak to the community. I have spoken to the community, which is quite angry, which is their right to be angry. The IPID is investigating the matter of the death. They haven't come back with the full results on that one. The issue that they are raising is that the community is not coming forward with information they have and write the statement and all that. That's the call I made to the community to say they must help us bring the statement, be able to give whatever information they have, so that it can continue with the IPID to investigate and find out what happened. Indeed, somebody died. We must find out what happened, and whoever killed that person, because the argument here is that there was an exchange of fire, and then for us to find out exactly what happened, we need the investigation.
Yeah, the minister there saying to find out exactly what happened, we need the investigation. That bullet belonged to who, what was going on, because there was gunfire, obviously, exchange, and the whole issue of this investigation might shed some light about issues around ammunition, for example.
And you know, ammunition is a big conversation here in Durban in particular after the unrest, because there was that shipping container that was broken into and more than 1 million rounds was stolen, and that ammunition rather is still being sought by police. They've recovered some of it, but there's still other ammunition that's out. That's in addition to all of the other guns and ammunition that has already been in communities. Now, the issue here is a couple of things. The one is the landscape and the way it's situated. It's just a pity that the light is shining off to my right, but I would have shown you that the informal houses are all lined up a hill, and the road where we are talking to you from now is below. This is where police had approached from. That's the one part of it, so the terrain here. The second part is that the police minister saying that there are lots of guns in this community, which poses a threat, which poses a concern to him, especially when police have to do their work. Let's listen in to the minister again.
The resistance of the community is unfortunate, but police are not going to stop, because they raid because there is information. For instance, here, the information was giving us 3 centers. One was stolen food, secondly, appliances, as I've said, and thirdly is that there was a portion of stolen live ammunition. No ways then that police cannot come and investigate such a thing. It's unfortunate that there will be that resistance, where The call we'll make as soon as we discover what happened here is that police, even under those trying and testing conditions, they will remain calm, but then do the work. There's no ways that you can retreat when we are told that there are things like guns here, there are things like live ammunition. Our information is that this community has a lot of guns. Hence, there was an exchange of fire. Hence, we're investigating. Ballistic will tell us, the post-mortem will tell us what happened on that. Only then we'll come back and give the full information.
Well, I guess the community is also expecting some arrest. If police are investigating, one wonders when that will take place. Do we have any news at all about any arrest in this matter, Dasen?
No, unfortunately not. There have been no arrests in this particular case yet. But what the community has said is that they have told the police minister that they want an update in about 3 weeks. And in that update, they are hoping that there is some significant movement in this case. Now, that has to go hand in hand with the request from police, and that request was for statements to be put out. But there's the broader issue of arrests, Dan, and that is the arrests in the unrest in the province, that are the arrests relating to the instigators that are alleged to be behind this unrest. So we also spoke about that to the police minister, because we can't look at things in isolation, and we can't look at incidents like this one without looking at the broader context. And in that regard, there have been arrests in both the Phoenix matter in relation to the killings there. There have also been additional arrests when it comes to those instigators. Let's listen into the minister here and just listen to those figures that he shared with us.
People that have been arrested in Phoenix now, there are 31. Some of them, there were 22, and there are added people that will be coming to court. But altogether, there are 31, and we expect that number to grow. When it comes to the people that regarded as instigators, the figure there has remained at 12 of the people, but that does not end there, because there are many that have been identified, and police are identifying more people going forward. We believe that there will be people identified in high profile where police are after them.
Okay, I guess we're going to have to wait for some time. I mean, like the rest of South Africa, we really want to know about more on these arrests. The residents, I'm sure you also spoke to them, the residents on the ground there in Lamontville, as they share their various views. You said they've given the minister up to 3 weeks, for example, for more feedback about exactly what is the progress in their particular case. What else have you learned today, Dasen?
So the residents here, just from those that we've engaged with, feel that they are being targeted by police, because they've had to take you back to how this all started. Remember, this confrontation arose out of the police action in this area. Police said that they'd received information around stolen goods that were here, so they had come here looking to retrieve those items. The allegation then from police is that the community resisted. So some of the residents that had spoken out voiced this to the police minister. Some had even went as far as saying that they had done precisely what others were doing during this time, an indication that they were talking about some of the looting activities. But in saying that, they also claimed that it was because they were hungry. But let's listen directly to some of those accounts by residents during the police minister's visit.
bahlali bala kube ngathi manje sizigebengu kumele sizize ngazuthi sizigebengu kube yithina esijahwayo kukhona igebengu ehambayo la ngaphandle hayi kumele kube yithina ngoba nakho sifuna ukudla hayi ngoba silwa nabo bekuwukuthi senza nathi esibone kwenziwa manje sekumele kuthathwe imphefumulo wethu hayi kumele size sibulale ukudla ushona ukuthi umuntu osifazane kumele afele ukuthi manje uthathe ukudla sibulala impela akumele ngabe siyaqina siyabambana sibaba babodwa kanti yiphi lesiyelayo masithi sibona ifreedom yiphi le freedom esiyitholayo njengamanje ngoba njengamanje sifila like kuyela back to apartheid whereby siyacontrola we are being controlled singene kanjani senze kanjani.
Okay, the police minister engaging with the community, but this is very much a police issue on the ground, Dasen. The police minister, Bheki Cele, is the political head He's not the commissioner himself. So just wondering if the KwaZulu-Natal police leadership structures was represented in today's Lamontville engagement with the community. And what's your sentiment? What's the sentiment that you managed to get around them?
No, definitely. And, you know, Dan, there's an issue that we've seen, or we've picked up, an observation, if nothing else, that especially when there are issues of crime and incidents like this one, the call from the community is normally for the police minister. It's because, as you said, he is a political head, and it's probably the one that is seen by these communities more often, seen on television. So it's very rare that we hear calls for the provincial commissioner, but it doesn't mean that they're not here, especially the operational team, the management team. They do accompany the minister on these visits. Often he's briefed by those people that are here, and today was no different. We saw the provincial commissioner that was standing directly next to the police minister, especially when these issues were being unpacked. But despite that, there seems to be a bit of a strained relationship now between this community and police. And I draw that from some of the comments that were made, and also from an incident that occurred just after the minister had left. So when the last of the police vehicles were making their way out, there was a very brief incident of some rocks being thrown at police vehicles that were passing by, but that was all stopped very quickly. But I think that's just an indication of some of the sentiment and the anger, and just how volatile things can turn very quickly if not controlled. So these conversations that are happening, Dan, are very important to allow the community to voice their concerns, and equally to give police a chance to respond to some of these concerns that the community have.
Thank you very much, Dasen Thathiah in Lamontville. An update on the latest, what Minister Bheki Cele has been up to there, accompanied by KwaZulu-Natal police officials as well. Now, Bheki Cele has meantime denied that the ANC Deputy Secretary General Jessie Duarte's life is in danger. This follows a burglary at her home. The police minister says police are not providing security to Duarte.
Such a pity that when you raise questions, you regard, some of you regard as almighty, that cannot be answered. You see, I was very disappointed when I saw the editorial of one paper this morning. I spoke to their reporter who has raised the matter with me. Never threatened him. I don't threaten, but I raised the issue to say, my problem with the issue of Jessie Duarte looks like some journalists are taking sides on it. For instance, why would a journalist ask the question that says Jessie is giving the police because the Minister of Police is trying to woo Jessie to join the CR70? That is politics from the journalists. When you try to explain that, we are taken to task to say you are threatening the journalists. There is no member of the South African Police Service that is guarding either Jessie or his or her house.